You have the floor.
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to speak to you all. I've met a few of you all. Met Laverne, I don't know, a month ago or so. We walked a section of the Greenbelt kind of from Miller's Mill to Lake Forest, and be glad to talk about really anything park related. Just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, I'll kind of talk about me and kind of how I ended up in this role, and then we can launch into kind of what's coming with the parks. I know you all are very familiar with the park system, but I'll touch on that just very briefly, give a very brief overview. I'm sure you all have been to Panther Creek. You're going to have your cookout. I was hearing at the Lakeview Shelter. This is the Daviess Dreamcatcher Suspension Bridge. Beautiful structure, I think, over Panther Creek. As someone who did not grow up in Davis County, it has been a blessing to get to know these parks. I feel like the elevated trails are quite unique, and this is just a grand feature. So anyways, not to spend too much time on that, but again, so I was named Director of Parks and Public Information in December. It was right before Christmas. I have always had a passion for parks and green space, but this wasn't necessarily something that I envisioned doing even this time last year. So I actually was hired by Davis County Fiscal Court in August of 2020. It was right during the middle of COVID, the pandemic. They needed someone essentially to run the sound and the video for the fiscal court meetings. They were contracting with OCTC to have an employee come in and do that. They needed someone in-house to also manage the website, do social media, and quickly that kind of became the primary focus of my job. So as we all know, people do not read the newspaper like they used to. They don't follow local news on television or radio, so I think it's more important than ever that an organization gets out there and tells its story, and that's what we've been trying to do, doing these videos and a lot of pictures and stuff. If you follow us on Facebook, which I encourage you to do that, YouTube, you can go to our website, davisky.org, and kind of get updates from the county there, everything from public works to parks to animal control. So anyways, that's kind of how I started. You know, everyone will ask me from time to time, hey, are you related to so-and-so? And I say, no, I'm not. As far as I'm aware, I have deep Kentucky roots, but I was actually raised in southeastern Illinois. My hometown is Albion. It's about an hour northwest of Evansville. If you know where like Fairfield, Mount Carmel, Grayville, that general area was kind of where I was raised. But both of my parents are from Kentucky. They met at UK in the 1980s. My dad grew up in Erlanger in northern Kentucky, and then my mother is from eastern Kentucky, Knott County. The county seat is Hyman, and so she was raised right outside of there. So we were always going back and forth between Louisville and Lexington, visiting them for the holidays, and then I ended up at Georgetown College for my undergraduate work. And I guess from the beginning, I did the PA system in high school, and I kind of knew that I wanted to pursue storytelling and broadcasting, and so I spent time in a couple of different markets doing both radio and television, and I joined the Cabinet for Health and Family Services in 2019 before I came on board with the county. So anyways, I have no formal background. It wasn't like I went to college thinking, oh, I'm going to run a parks system someday, but you know, I have traveled all over the country, especially the eastern half of the U.S. I enjoy hiking and biking. I'm especially fond of New England, like Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. I think those are about some of the three prettiest states aside from Kentucky. And so my passion, I guess, to improve the county parks is largely based on my experiences visiting some other, local and state parks around the country. So anyways, just again, the judge, executive, Charlie Caslin, approached me late last year about the county park system. He really wanted our parks to be more active, both through community events. He also wanted a plan to go about improving our facilities. You all have been to our parks, and you know exactly what I'm talking about with the picnic shelters and especially the restrooms. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. And so, again, he knew of my passion for our parks. I'm also, again, I really, as much as I'm the park director, I consider myself a content creator and a promoter. And so all these things kind of fit together. And I also want to, in addition to kind of, throwing myself into the parks, I have enjoyed visiting all of these smaller communities in Daviess County, Sargo, Maceo, Yelvington, Thruston, Knoxville. I don't know, about every week I'll do a post with a collection of photos, and I try to share. I think sometimes we take it for granted what's right here in our own backyard and just the beauty of our rural landscapes. And so I really try to illustrate that. I'm not a professional photographer, I'm very much an amateur, but I just love getting out and seeing the county and meeting people and just sharing that perspective. But again, aside from me, it wasn't just me in the sense of the reorganization of the department. We have a new supervisor of building and grounds. His name is Jerry Ames. As you all know, or may not know, we've been kind of in I wouldn't say an awkward, but it's been the last 2 or 3 years have been kind of different for the parks. They were under Public Works and the county engineer for 2 to 3 years. There were a number of maintenance issues that we had to address. The county engineer announced that he was going to retire this fall, and that's what kind of started getting all these pieces moving. And so now the parks is kind of standalone the way it used to be, and I think we'll have a little more autonomy, but also have the support of Public Works when needed to keep addressing some of the maintenance concerns. So anyways, just a brief overview. I love this aerial shot. Our EMA director, Andy Ball, took this last fall. It was kind of past peak, as you can see. Some of the bare trees, but still a great shot looking up towards the river. This is at Yellow Creek, of course. So just again, a very, very, because again, I know everybody lives here and is familiar with the park system, but just very brief overview. We kind of have 3 primary park facilities that we manage: Yellow Creek, Panther Creek, and Horse Fork. There's also a shotgun shooting sports complex at Maceo that used to be known as the Daviess County Gun Club. It was renamed for former Judge Al Mattingly in 2022. Along with the 3 sites up here, we also manage the park at Stanley, where the school used to be off of Highway 60, the ball fields that are behind the old school at Whitesville. We have 2 sections of the green belt. The one that kind of, as we were just talking, goes from Miller's Mill back past Horse Fork to Ewell Park, and then the other section is out near the hospital. And then we also contract with an operator for the Little Hurricane boat ramp, and then we also contract mowing for the small Redbud Park that's kind of near the jail. So if you go to our website, davisky.org, you can kind of see a list of all those facilities and interactive maps, and anyways, that just would encourage you to check that out. Aside from myself and Jerry, we have our office manager, Kelly, who's actually here tonight with her mother, right there. We have events coordinator, Jenny Warren, who for many years was the fiscal court clerk, and then Ross Lee is over recreation outreach. Specifically, he does a lot with the gun club and the playground association, and managing some of the seasonal park attendance. And Ross has been tremendously helpful, especially with his historical knowledge. So we also have this entire team that Jerry oversees, building and grounds department, that kind of does a lot of the maintenance of the parks, and then the seasonal park attendants, like I mentioned. So anyway, I was brought in December with this mandate, as I mentioned, to get more people out into the green space, get them to discover kind of what's in our backyard, what we have, and then the county and fiscal court really charged me. We want to see more events, especially things for families, where we felt like there was a void, and we could meet a need. So anyway, we kind of set out to start planning events and also do facility updates. We've had a number of events already. We had an Easter egg hunt in March, a Touch a Truck event in April, And then this past weekend, we partnered with the King Cat Tournament Trail for a youth fishing event at Yellow Creek. And you can kind of see everything else that's coming. This is just a small sampling of things that we're involved with. Next year is going to be even bigger. And so we're trying to partner with other organizations in the community where we feel like we don't have the background. Steve was kind enough to join with us. We're going to do a birding workshop in October with a nature hike, and then we're going to have kids building birdhouses. It's a workshop. We're going to have Nathan Meredith. I don't know if you know Nathan with the high school and OCTC. He's going to be kind of the instructor for that part, and then Steve is going to lead the hike portion. So we're excited about that event. We have a photography clinic in the same month. This Pups in the Park will be really exciting. We're partnering with Kentucky Dock Dogs for a competitive dock diving competition. We'll have local rescue organizations, vendors, and that'll be a lot of fun. We're bringing our fireworks back to July 4th weekend. And so we're excited about that. We just have a lot of things we're working on. We're going to do a Halloween event for kids, and so a lot of good things are happening. And again, I just kind of speaking to the mandate that hey, we want to have events for the community to get people out into the green space. At Touch a Truck, I'll share with you. So every month we get like Google Analytics for the sites that we manage. You know, Yellow Creek, Panther Creek. I know we're doing something right when, 2,000 people ask for directions to Panther Creek Park in the month of April. And we had 6,000 some people that came to our website from Google specifically to learn about Panther Creek Park because they had never been there before. And we talked to people at that event that either had never been there or they had only been there at Christmas time. And so that just really, I felt like, spoke to the importance of what we were doing because, like I said, I'm amazed the number of people I will talk to, like in the eastern part of the county, that don't even know where Panther Creek is, and they've never been there, or like I said, they've only been there for the Christmas lights. And so we want to change some of that narrative. But so now we're going to get into some of the facility stuff because I thought this was kind of the biggest news or new updates. There was an article in the newspaper maybe a month ago or something that kind of hit on some of the updates, things that were coming. So let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to start with the restrooms. So really pleased to share that's a top priority, the top priority at Yellow Creek. My intent this summer is to knock down the current structure that's there, and we will build back a new building and kind of in the same footprint or immediately adjacent to the current restrooms. There'll be 5 kind of toilets on each side, 2 sinks, hand dryers. There will still be a large overhang on the other side of the structure that will kind of double as an open picnic shelter. And this building will be insulated. That's a challenge we have right now. So it'll be heated in the winter, cooled in the summer. It's not well insulated now, and I feel like it's a very dreary building. It's just cement block, and we're going to be working with Axiom Architecture to design something. I could have put a lot of photos of things for inspiration up here, but this big one I want to talk about in a little bit. The other thing, a lot of our picnic shelters in our parks are nearly 30 years old, and we have a number of structural issues, also practical issues that we cannot remedy, power supply issues, and so we are planning to set out and over the next 4 or 5 years go through and replace all of our picnic shelters. We're going to be starting with shelter number 1 at Yellow Creek, and then also Whispering Wind at Panther. And if you drive out to Panther right now, Whispering Wind is the one that looks like, well, they took the screens off of it. It looks like it was bombed or something, and the windows were blown out of it. That was a trial. From the maintenance perspective, there was they thought they would trial getting rid of the screens just to kind of see. From a maintenance perspective, that was more manageable. That has created other issues, and so anyways, we are going to tackle that. As you know, we get hundreds of reservations every year, birthday parties, class reunions, company picnics, weddings, other functions. And so these picnic shelters are really vital. And we are planning to have them screened in with ceiling fans and upgraded electrical outlets. And we're going to start with those two, and that'll be this coming off-season. Another facility that we've identified for replacement is the current shelter at the Nature Center at Yellow Creek Park. The posts are literally rotting, and they're in concrete, and Kelly Gardner, a local structural engineer, has come out and has said, you know, this is a huge concern. You all have got to do something about this. At the same time, as you know, there's a new subdivision going in on the back side of Yellow Creek Park. It's a Clayton Homes development, and we have gotten a water and sewer easement from them to bring those facilities over to the back side of the park. The restrooms that are there now are on a septic system. We currently don't have water back in the Pioneer Village due to a leak somewhere under that lower parking lot or the creek. We haven't been able to find it. So anyways, we've been kind of laying the groundwork for what I'm going to talk about here and what this big barn is an inspiration for. So our plan is to do, I'm calling it an event center, sort of an interpretive type of structure. The inspiration for this, you kind of see it there to the right, is a timber frame barn. This barn is actually present at the Russell Colbath Historic Site in New Hampshire. It is a U.S. Forest Service managed facility. There's a historic home and farm there, and they built this structure to do, you know, interpretive programs. People get married in it, and our plan is there's kind of two overhangs, one on each side. One side will have restrooms, the other side will have picnic tables. These barn doors will open up. We'll have tables in there. We'll have a portable stage that could be brought out to the front so we could have performances in the Pioneer Village. And really this is going to be a facility that we can utilize year-round. So I'm really excited about this, and I think it will kind of fit, it will fit some of the aesthetic of the village, which the current shelter does not do that. And it will address some of the current maintenance concerns that we have. So I'm really excited about that. Let's move on to some other things that are also in the budget. As you all know, pickleball has just exploded in our community. And so this budget, this is an aerial shot of the current courts. I'm trying to think, it's maybe been 3 years now, at least 2.5 since we converted the tennis courts to pickleball out at Yellow Creek. That has been immensely popular. At this point, they are still the only lighted courts in Daviess County. And so our plan is to kind of across from the path, you can't see it on the PowerPoint here, but in this big open field right here, to construct another 8 additional sport courts in that open field. And then in a future year, we would do lighting, landscaping, picnic benches, maybe some small bleachers and shade structures, but all of these courts will be open to the public. We frequently get a lot of complaints about people that struggle to get in at York Park, and so while we very much want to be good partners with River City Pickleball and other organizations in the community, I believe in open access and open courts, and I don't want those to be restricted to any one organization or one group to have to be over that. So additionally to that, over at Horsefork Creek Park, as you know, we're kind of bursting at the seams on weekends in the spring and fall with the soccer program. They have like 1,200 kids this spring alone. And so we proposed adding lights to fields 2, 3, and 4, which are over on the Greenbelt side, that will kind of help further the growth and development of youth recreational soccer. And the lights would allow for games and practices during the week and the evenings, alleviating some of the burden that we're having on the weekends with the parking, which is continuing to, to be a concern for us. And so, in addition to that, we're also planning to do a renovation of the basketball court at Panther. We're going to be replacing the basketball goals. They're getting in bad shape, and we're going to be putting a new surface down over the concrete with kind of bright striping. It'll be kind of bright blue like the pickleball courts are. Other things that are coming. We have received a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to support new lights at Stanley Park. If you may or may not know, the lights that were there previously were removed after a windstorm in 2022. One of the poles actually fell on the field, and we went ahead and removed the other poles just out of an abundance of caution. And so this grant is going to help us restore lighting on the ball field, and then also to put lights on the pickleball courts at Stanley. And so again, you would be able to play in the evening there as well. So let's bump over to the Mattingly Target Shooting Range. Kind of a really big year out there. They are hosting in August, or we are hosting, I should say, the 2024 Kentucky State Sporting Clays Championship. It is the first time the county has ever held this event. And so we are really excited. I don't know if anybody's ever been out there before or not. It's a 76-acre facility on the banks of Puck Creek, just before you get to Maceo, going out the old Highway 60. We have skeet, trap, and sporting clays. It's very affordable. Around the sporting clays actually starts at $35. So we're open weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, March to December. And the state event that I'm talking about is going to bring over 200, maybe 250 of the best shooters, not only in Kentucky, but around the region. And so we're excited to be able to host this and bring some more notoriety to the range. And we'll continue to field questions about rifles and pistols. At this point, it is only a shotgun, but you know, we remain optimistic about the future and the ability to pursue some other avenues down the road if those should transpire. So again, I just also wanted to talk about, I know you all are probably familiar with our shelter and ball fields, but we started doing online reservations, I guess it was 2 years ago. You can still call the office, still talk to Kelly. She'll be glad to help guide you through that process, but it's very easy. You create an account, go to davisky.org, and you can kind of see, even open weekends, what shelters are available. You can, if you have your dates and everything, and so there's no need to necessarily even pick up the phone, and you can do it all from your phone or from your computer and navigate it that way. So I kind of ran through this, I feel like, but I'm happy to spend a lot of time, talking, addressing your questions, and I may not have the answers, but I'll be glad to make some notes and follow up with you. Yes.
One of the things that occurred to me, and it's not, anyway.
Yeah.
The lighting that you're talking about replacing, is all of this down lighting?
Yes. I mean, it will be.
You understand what I'm
correct. Yes, it'll be focused, down at the field. Have you been over to Panther since we replaced the new lights that are on the ball field? They are much more directional than the old lights.
Right. Well, that was the kind of concern I had. Correct.
Yes, and so these will not only be more energy efficient, but another reason we're doing 2, 3, and 4, and not the other fields that are over back towards the neighborhoods, is we did not want to from a quality of life perspective, we did not want to have a detriment to them.
And the ones over by the Greenbelt.
Yes. So that's what kind of, and also the fact that we could share poles. But yes, these will be kind of focused down, towards the fields, and I frankly, from a security standpoint, I don't know what the utilization of I'm never on the Greenbelt at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night or whatever, but having more lighting, I feel like is never it's never a bad thing from a security standpoint, but our intent is strictly, you know, for this to be down at the fields. So, but that was a good question. So,
I have another question.
yes, please.
The other thing I wondered about is the only time I've ever been to what is now the Mattingly
Yeah.
Gun Club was when it was the fishing gig, whatever they used to call it.
Okay.
And we had an invitation to
Yeah.
go out there one day and bird. And it was a marvelous experience. I can't remember, it has to be 10, 15 years ago. And I wondered whether, since it's open Friday through Sunday, if there were a time when a group like ours could go out there where there was, you know,
Certainly.
there were no guns.
Or we could do something during the week if you didn't
Right.
want, or
Right,
again.
because they're really only
yeah.
open on the weekends.
Well, but if I knew, let's say you all wanted to have your Tuesday meeting out there or
Yeah.
something, would love to set something up for you all, and we could all meet out there and do a little program about the gun club, and I mean, if you all wanted to see a demonstration of sporting clays, we would be glad to do that too. And provide ear protection or whatever, if that was something you all were interested in. Otherwise, you know, I could
I mean,
have Zach or
just in
Ross.
terms of a natural
Yeah,
area
yeah,
was really
yeah.
what
Yeah.
I was, I mean, if it's
I-
there,
yeah.
Yeah,
and when it's not being used as a gun club, that would be an opportunity to explore and see who's nesting there and.
okay, yeah,
We used to go out there before it was that, and it was,
Okay.
and it was wonderful. Yeah,
okay,
I don't know what it
I'm
looks
glad
like
somebody
now.
else remembered that.
yeah.
okay. I don't know, I don't have the perspective of the historical knowledge that
Right,
you all
it's
have
been-
in this
It's
room.
been a lot of years.
Okay, because like I said, it kind of looked like it did now. I mean, we've expanded it and have added more throwing machines, and there's a big tower out there now that didn't used to be there, but it has kind of looked like it does since I got here in 2020. It's been, you know, the facility has been kind of, you know, what it is. So, yes.
Okay, so I know you obviously have your hands full here. Is there, along the Greenbelt specifically, are any areas managed for like wildlife corridors or with the intent of attracting wildlife? Or-
Not at the present time, and I would say we probably took some steps in, as we discussed with Laverne, I think we took some steps back, unfortunately,
Oh.
the last year or so, as far as, you know, trying to cut further back, and I believe the mowing of the Greenbelt is contracted for this year. I guess, and again, this is an open dialogue, so if you all have some suggestions or some thoughts on what section should be managed, and what specifically, some things we need to consider. You know, I think often we view things through the lens of, you know, concerns of liability, you know, down limbs, and our fear that, you know, there will be trees or other, you know, things that will impede the access, you know, for people that are using the trail. But-
Yeah, well, like, for instance, one thing that just comes to my mind, where, like, would be, there's some states are really good at this, like Wisconsin, Minnesota, where, like, the medians, you know, like the interstate medians,
Yeah,
you know, they're mowed, like, at the end of every fall, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they're managed
yeah,
for flowers and wildlife the rest of the year. So in other words, we're not wanting trees to come up,
Yeah.
but could, you know, like pollinator lanes, for instance. And
yeah,
I don't know, just where we can
Yeah.
just attract,
yeah,
but then not promote woody growth,
yeah.
I guess, something
Okay.
like that, you know?
That's great. And if you also have some examples, I'll give you my.
Yes.
If you have some examples you can send me, that's also helpful to kind of show
Yes.
the court, like, okay, this is what we're aiming towards. So another thing I didn't really talk about tonight is I have a desire, and the judge also too. He's very passionate about trees, We want to, I want to add some more color to our parks in the sense of blooming, trees and flowers and, bushes and, I want to, I want the parks to be inviting both in the spring and in the fall, and I love that your organization is active and gets out and does. I think you all go over to like Audubon wetlands and different areas throughout the region and do a lot of trips and so and I love the Virginia Miles Nature Center. I go back there occasionally and take pictures too. So kudos to you all for caring for that area for so many years. But yes, if you could get me, and I'll look around myself too, but on the pollinator lanes and some examples of other communities where you feel like, oh, they're doing this really well, and some things that we can consider and look at, because I'm not opposed to that at all. And I think, like if you all ever driven out to Carpenter Kingfisher Lake, I think they have a pollinator area near the parking lot where the like the boat ramp is. Are you familiar with that? I'll show you what it looks like. Let's see here, and then you can tell me if this is what you were thinking of. So, is that? Have you seen this before?
No.
So this is out at Carpenter Kingfisher Lake. I'm guessing this was, I don't know when this photo was taken. Let's see, looks like July of 2022. But a lot of honeybees, and I mean, you kind of look at this, it was very vibrant.
Yeah.
And that's the lake in the background there. So, like, I would love for us to do, some pollinator habitats in our parks as well.
Isn't there a section just before you get to Ewell's?
Yeah.
Forget what that's called, Ewell's Landing or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a section when you're walking in that direction on the right that was a monarch watch area.
Okay.
At one point.
Ewell's is managed by the city. I'm not sure.
This was several years ago, and I
Okay.
don't know if that was city
Yeah.
concern or county concern, because
Yeah.
there's no sign that says you've just left the city.
Yeah, I know. And I almost feel like we need to put that up sometimes because we both get calls, either way. But
But
okay.
As Laverne has said many times,
yeah,
if even they didn't mow as wide a swath, we would get some of those natural pollinator.
Have you been in touch with the botanical gardener?
I have not talked with him.
Because they have a master gardener program there,
Yeah,
and they would be ideal for this, what you're talking about.
yeah,
At least it's
And
consult.
terrific backup
yeah.
and expertise for you.
Okay. Well, and I also thought about like Annette Eistoffer, Annette with the extension office. She'd be another one, and I was planning to reach out to her once we got into the new budget year. So like a lot of the stuff, like the picnic shelters, all the things I was talking about are in the new fiscal year that starts in July. All this money for landscaping that I was talking about, new fiscal year in July, and so we're kind of waiting another 2 months here or whatever to where we can start exercising some of the.
They have a master gardener programming, and they have a
Correct. I
cadre
agree
of
with you
people.
100%. I agree with you.
They have a cadre of people who might be a resource to you.
Absolutely. Yep. Yes, sir, in the back.
Some of that along the section of the green belt that belongs to the county.
Yeah.
I'm all for more trees. Someone that knows maybe can tell you trees that aren't gonna push your pavement up in a few years.
Yeah.
If you ride or walk that section, you know that is a big problem.
Yeah, you can kind of, and I, like, right as you cross Lake Forest, you know where that like clubhouse and the tennis courts are and stuff? It looks like we've kind of come along and tried to grade over where some roots and stuff have come up, and people ask me, why did you all leave it like this? And I was like, well, I didn't leave it like that, but, we'll definitely try and get it addressed. This time of year, it feels like it's a challenge just to get the properties mowed. but we're trying to fix, I mean, we did a new, there's so many things I could have talked about. I didn't want to like go on and on for you all. We did a new 18-hole disc golf course, the Creekside course at Yellow Creek. And we're working on redoing the tee pads at Panther Creek, and we've got new signage up. And so there's just so many things. But, and I think we will tackle the Greenbelt in depth next year. But yeah, I welcome your suggestions and your feedback. So
On that same theme,
Yeah.
I use the Greenbelt a lot, I ride out there a lot.
Okay.
And the biggest complaint I hear is there's no restroom facilities on the east end of the Greenbelt. There's a couple of porta potties, there's no, maybe I should rephrase that, there's no flush toilets on the
Okay.
east end of the Greenbelt anywhere.
okay, and you're talking over by the hospital, or are you
No.
talking Miller's Mill?
Yes,
Okay, because we do have restrooms at least now at Horse Fork, you know, where the spray park and the playground is.
but there's nothing on the Greenbelt to say
Okay,
public restroom.
okay,
This way?
yeah,
No,
So you think
like
we-
at the tennis house,
Yes.
on the city's end, on the other end, it's got a big sign that says.
okay, so you think we need some signage promoting the fact that there are restrooms that
Yes.
are open there, okay?
Yes, and, because
Okay.
that's one of the things, some of the places I've traveled that have a facility like that, they put like a restroom, but it's got a separate little building, separate part of the building, like an overhang, and it's got a picnic table under it, things like that, and that seems to draw a lot of people,
Yeah,
and it's also a handy shelter if you're caught in a storm,
mhm,
things like that, and,
yeah,
but, I know you're building a lot of restrooms in parks, but there are more need, so.
yeah, no, I totally get it. No, I appreciate the suggestions, so, we'll certainly, look into that and do, I felt like I was scrambling, so the budgetary process, we usually submit our budget worksheets at the end of January, and then we meet with the judge, late February, early March, and then the budget work session is in April. We're having our first hearing on the budget Thursday, second hearing will be in June. And so I felt like I got in December and was quickly, completely overwhelmed, and then I'm supposed to put together a budget, which I've never done before, but there's so much writing on it because people, I feel like these parks have just been neglected almost. And so here I am, like trying to do everything I can, you know, to keep the ship alive and to breathe new life into the park system. And so, again, these shelters and bathrooms, I felt like were just paramount, and so I feel like at this point we're just going back and fixing things that have been neglected, but we're doing some new things too, and this fits right in with, you know, I feel like we've kind of left, you know, we spent a lot of money on the Greenbelt, you know, 20 years ago or whatever, but 15 years ago, whatever, but we kind of let it, you know, go now for a while, and I think it's time to circle back and you know, the county did an application, I think it was last year, Land and Water Fund, to try and extend the Greenbelt from the hospital over to Yellow Creek Park, and they got it partially funded, but elected not to do the project. I don't know how you all feel about that, just as a, I don't know if you use the Greenbelt or not, but that is something that continues to be in our minds, I guess, about if that is a valuable link or not. You know, welcome any and all suggestions, but any other questions or things to think about? Yes,
I looked up some figures because money talks,
yeah,
and concerning birding,
yeah,
and $41 billion is brought into the economy of
Yeah.
across the United States. And I got this from Cornell, and if I read it right, that's like $56.74 for each person that comes into a community that birds. That's why Audubon tries to encourage people to wear the binoculars when they're out, you know, you're going into a restaurant to eat or something, so people know that birders
yeah,
are utilizing
The
whatever
ones that are
is in
spending
the
the money.
area.
Yeah, okay.
And so that might be something that helps sell.
Mhm.
If we would get to be known, well, you walk the green belt and you might find this, that,
Yeah,
and so other at this time of the year. And like I said, I think our club would be happy to help provide signage for wildlife areas. You know, this is wildlife
okay,
corridor.
okay. So we'll be back.
I
Yes.
guess when you were talking about the money for the extension, it seems to me that from what you're saying, maybe we need to take care of what we've already got.
That's
You know,
been my thing,
And
yeah.
because,
So, yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with that extension, but
Yeah.
if we've got problems in the parts of the green belt that we already have,
Yeah.
let's make those a showcase.
yeah,
You know, let's bring back the native wildflowers and the
Yeah.
native trees. Mark those trees so people know what they're looking at.
yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
and some of that, like, so I don't know if you've been to Yellow Creek, where supposedly we have a arboretum kind of behind
Yeah.
the Pioneer Village, but so many of the labels and markers are illegible or they're missing.
Right.
And it's,
They've
I
been
said, it's such a
neglected.
shame, we need to have, you know, we need to go out and improve a lot of this signage.
I hope you've got a list someplace.
A list?
A list.
Yeah. I have a
Signs
lot.
on the arbor, you know, all these, you've talked
Good
about,
ideas, yeah.
you've talked about a lot of little things, not
Yeah.
little things, but small projects,
Yeah.
smaller projects, that when you have a community group like ours, or like Sierra Club, or like a lot of others here, that say,
Yeah.
what can we do to help?
Yeah.
That you can say, you could fund signage for the arboretum and help us do that.
That would be tremendous.
Because I
yeah.
think you're missing, maybe not,
Yeah.
but missing
Yeah.
some opportunities.
Okay,
The other thing I wanted to say was, I understand what you're saying, Judy, but sometimes when there's money, you know, as you well know,
Mhm.
when there's money out there to do one piece, it doesn't mean you can use that money to do something else. And,
No, I understand
and the one thing I have felt about the green belt and the parks in Davis County, in Owensboro, Davis County, since I moved here in the late '70s, is that they are such a marketable promotion for our, that's not the word, for our community. I
Yeah.
remember when we first started talking about a green belt, and I'm sure most of you do too, or some of you do too. And people said, oh, we need jobs, we don't need a green belt. And they don't make the connection between the green belt brings jobs.
Yeah.
They don't get that. And so if extending the green belt, and there's money for that, is part of that process, because it's taken us 40 years to get here,
yeah,
at least. You know, I think to keep reiterating that message about how parks and green belts and other things that we have here help us market ourselves as a community. And I can't help but think that Davis County or the
Quality of
fiscal
life.
court would see that as a priority.
absolutely.
If you happen to notice, things like the Greenbelt,
Yeah.
builders will say, we're located along the Greenbelt.
Yeah, it's an amenity, it's a quality of
amenity.
life, attraction, yeah.
Yes, and it's,
Yeah.
as she said, I can remember the day when they said, oh, nobody will use that, and it's a
Yeah.
boondoggle, and.
We
et
need
cetera, et cetera.
jobs.
Yeah, but I think over the time, people have learned that that's a very valuable amenity.
Absolutely,
And it's often overlooked, but it's,
yeah,
and like you said, you
And
have to keep it up.
You can't get into the park, you can't get into parks. I mean, it's hard to get,
yeah,
I'm not thinking one or the other, but you know, you wanna get a place in a park, you better be on your toes about it.
yeah. Anything else?
I was wondering, as we were talking about some of these different ideas
Yeah.
and organizations, whether an ad hoc committee of some kind to help you to see what's possible out there that's not bricks and mortar.
Okay,
You know, you talked about trees.
yeah,
You know, certainly you want to make sure that you're talking about native trees, trees whose roots aren't going to
Yeah.
ruin your green belt. You know, so if you have somebody whose ear you have,
Yeah.
who's an arborist or who knows about these things. You were talking about Virginia Miles, Mr. Virginia Miles over here, being very quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Michael is still on the committee
Yeah,
to
the
keep
nature
Virginia
area.
Miles Nature
Yeah.
Center, whatever it
We
is.
do that.
And it's a jewel.
We bush hog once a year, and I like, kinda like, we have those pollinator areas along the green belt, and I think it's important to have that signage to say pollinator, because if you just have a grassy area, and I love snakes and they study
Yeah.
snakes, people are gonna say, that's just a snake infested area,
Yes.
but if you have it say pollinator, bees,
Right, or
they're probably not gonna think
somebody's going by and
snakes.
saying, this is just a bunch of weeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that signage, I think, just adds so much,
That's a
'cause
good point.
that
Yeah, look
pollinator, the
at-
bees,
I mean,
the
this
butterflies.
place
Plants
is
for
stunning.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
This
miles.
is in the fall, this was last November,
Mhm.
and it almost looks like a painting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is
We-
just so
we
pretty,
monitor the bird species there the first
Yeah.
Wednesday of every month,
okay?
and have been doing it since.
Yeah, like this was maybe my favorite, but it was just so, it's just so pretty, and every time I post this, they're like, well, where is this? I gotta go out there, like, where is this place?
It's the
And
best kept
and
secret.
it's someone, I think it is, and every time I post about it, let me, I saw a deer back there, the other day. It was, I think it's the closest I've ever been to a deer. Here it is. So, look at this. This was in this was in the middle of the day. I was out there for my lunch break, the middle of the day. This deer is just standing. We stood there for, I don't know, it must have been 30 seconds, just looking straight at each
Did you see
other.
that time?
And, I mean, I just took these, like I said, on my lunch break, but it is just so pretty out there.
Some of our research with John in the back
Yeah.
too, with Brush, that we're doing some
There's the
camera
signs, I guess
monitoring.
you're talking about, yeah. So anyways, so kudos to you all, because that continues to be, like I said, I think maybe the best kept secret in Owensboro, but,
Jordan,
Yeah.
yes,
a couple of somewhat related questions, but
yes.
do you happen to know if you're contracted with the same mowing company as the city?
I don't think, I don't know. I won't, yeah.
I'm assuming the budget calendar is the same for the city, county, or at least similar?
Similar.
Does,
We don't necessarily do bids at the same time, but yeah,
well, only related
yeah,
if a group was so
yeah,
whimsically deemed to
Yeah.
start the slow process,
Yeah.
then in your description of the process, if the group gets ideas to present, say, in October or November of the preceding year,
yeah,
to then approach for your budget request that you say
Yep.
start accruing in January.
correct.
So discussions in October or November for the, essentially.
That would be the time to do
happen
it,
in
yeah.
a year and a half from that point.
Mhm.
Either, and some of the city's efficiency mowing programs out at Rudy Mines or what Amanda has spoken of has slowly begun to, I think, fruit in actual data of savings.
Okay,
So with some of that money related to Laverne's sort of angle of money, is
Yeah.
if it actually fruits less cost,
yeah,
if we can sort of get a notion of a group interested in either pollinator areas relatively to either information relative to the mowing contracts,
Mhm.
which seem to be described as rocket science sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah. So if a group was so inclined
yeah.
to make that, would that path be a both city county one? Would you suggest starting with one and the other, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I need to have a conversation with Amanda, I guess, and kind of see where she is at. Are there some sections of the city maintained Greenbelt that you would point to and say, they're doing it right here?
I don't know if that
Okay.
specific one.
Okay, well, I just, to what degree they had embraced this.
To what degree it is
Okay.
better than it was, or
Okay.
it's inclined to
Okay.
be more fruitful than,
Yeah,
than,
okay,
than Steve, I assume?
Yeah.
Or,
okay,
because Steve Hahus has been with,
okay. He's not here tonight, right?
no, he's not, we're doing Bluebird Houses projects out at Rudy Mines, and as well has been helping us think, or at least,
Okay, Okay,
informally advising,
Yeah.
volunteering
Okay.
information or
Yeah,
whatever.
the mowing was.
I guess,
Yeah, the mowing, yeah. Well, there was at least the mowing plan has been better, as Steve says, relative to remines and having a schedule of patches, mowing this patch, not this patch, trying this, and sort of like fallow
Yeah.
field rotation, and seeing how it works, and seeing if the mowing companies understand the instructions, of which has been described as, well, they just ignore the instructions, or they forget, or they get
Or
new
they don't
staff,
understand them.
or, yeah,
Or they don't know, they don't understand the rationale.
No, what I mean is the mowers don't understand.
but all that needs organization and upfront, after the fact, it's just.
what I'll do, maybe as a next step, I mean, I will call and talk to Amanda this week, but our park board meets once a month. They're sort of the advisory panel, advisory council for the Parks Department, and Louis Jean, you know Louis, anybody in here? He is chair of that board right now, and has been for a while, and this might be something we'll talk about in our meeting, and if you know, one of you all would be inclined to come and talk about pollinator, and just the effort to want to introduce more you know, these wildlife corridors, and I'm in no way, I'm embracing what you're telling me. I'm very supportive of the idea, so it's just kind of how do we make it happen, and get the court to embrace it as well. You know, I think we can meet our goal to you know, keep the green belt to where it's safe and maintained well, but also we see a return of birds and insects and other species that have left us the last few years, because so much of it has been you know, taken out. I think, Laverne, you described it as it used to be a cathedral, and it has been essentially, it's been decimated, you know, that section from Lake Forest to Miller's Mill. And so, anyways, I think we'll be constructive, and maybe I can follow up with, I don't know who my point person from the group is gonna be, if it's Laverne, if it's David, or who you would suggest I work with, as far as you mentioned this ad hoc group.
I mean,
But-
I'm
okay.
certainly.
I'll give you my
I'm
card.
glad to
Okay,
participate.
great.
I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
know Micah knows a whole lot more than I do, but I mean,
Okay.
but at the
I'm
same
glad
time,
to-
I mean,
yeah.
we have our own pollinator beds
Yeah.
at home, and so I know what we do, and,
Yeah,
you know, and I'm glad to do research on
okay,
how
Yeah.
other communities do it.
yeah, so, but that's like, I always ask people, like, can you give me some examples, because examples are so helpful for me to research and say, okay, this is how they did it. Here are some examples to kind of show the court and get them to embrace and believe in the concept, and so if there are other communities that are doing it well, and that's why I asked about the city, if like there were a couple of sections of city maintained rainbow, like, okay, this is exactly how it needs to be done, then I will go out there tomorrow and look at it. But that was, we'll definitely you know, pick this up and see where it goes. At least from the county side, I think we can make steps for progress, you know, from Horse Fork over to Miller's Mill, and as a first section to target, so.
Sorry, I don't know this, is the hospital in the county fully?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Well, and-
That's all right,
and
I can look that
Yes.
up.
But it's mowed like a golf course,
Yeah,
except for right around the ponds, where they did
Yeah.
leave a nice, most of it is just mowed.
yes,
And if you go out there, what you see are starlings raiding the dumpsters, you know,
yeah,
and geese.
yeah,
Yeah, George, we have like a
It's
small group of us, if you want, maybe Laverne, Kathy, and I, maybe a few others to
yeah.
work with y'all and have
I think
ideas.
that makes sense.
Because
I
like,
think this is about what it looks like now. I'm trying to think when this picture was taken, but
Well, but see, The distance.
This was May, yeah,
the-
2022.
See how narrow that is?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's a nice edge that's mowed, they know it's not just,
yeah,
and then you could even have a little signage there to explain
yeah.
pollinators. And
Jordan, when did you say this regular meeting was that you guys had?
So we have a park board meeting this coming Monday. It's usually the second Monday of every month. But if I knew you all were coming, you know, we could put that on the agenda and,
It could be for the next month.
yeah, for June or whatever. We're glad to have, you know, someone from the group attend and talk about this.
So the next one would be.
And so,
And what time is that meeting?
it's at 5 o'clock and it's at the park office, 221 Allen Street, corner of Allen and Third.
What would be the date? I'm sorry.
The next meeting, sorry, I don't have any internet, but,
June?
for June, let's see, it'll be the 10th.
Yeah.
10th at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so, and like I said, we would welcome,
And 221 Allen is essentially on Third Street, not Allen Street. So you look at the door on Allen Street. there's
it's
no-
so confusing, I
I
agree.
got
Speaks
lost.
from experience.
It's where River Park Eye Center used to be. That's the building, and let me tell you real quick, since I don't have internet, who is on there. So if you want to talk to any of them ahead of time, Louis Jean is the chair. Bill Duncan, do you know Bill Duncan, anybody? Langley Roby, who's a teacher at
Is
Apollo.
Bill Duncan at the, teach the high school?
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
He's retired. Charlie Mackey, do you know that name? And then Byron Owen. And then there are two ex officio members, Lynn Holland. Lynn Holland is with OMU, and then Terry Thompson. And then Commissioner Larry Condor is the Parks Liaison from Fiscal Court.
What was anything about that was?
So,
Are you saying that you want to put
Kathy's gonna-
somebody from here on the agenda that night? So you would like to know a name, who would be coming?
that would be great. Or you don't have to tell me who's coming tonight, but if David wants to email me or you wants to call me and say, hey, so-and-so's coming, is gonna be at your meeting, and we will give you whatever, 10, 15 minutes at the start and let you kind of present on,
Specifically about what?
about the Greenbelt and
About
the
potential
pollinator
for-
lanes and the desire to make improvements to that section of the green space and yeah, so whoever you all would like to appoint but yes.
We've got it on here, so we'll remember.
Okay.
Kathy, we're maybe out of state of the date.
All right.
Anything
more?
else? I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak tonight.
Thank you.
I
Thank you very much, Jordan.
I think it's exciting that not only are you enthusiastic, but your superior is very enthusiastic about this,
Yes.
which means that what you do is gonna help, is gonna mean something.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Greenbelt and then.
Appreciate you coming.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.